Okay, cool. So, hello, welcome to the team call. Sorry I'm running late. It is very not like me. I wanted to start off first by just talking about Summit real quick, and make sure that everyone has their tickets. They're on sale right now for $155, I believe, and the price I think just goes up probably by $10 every month until Summit. So it's in Indianapolis, and I'm super excited. It's probably my favorite event of the year, because, well, I like to learn and do fun things like that. But it's really a great bonding time and a time for us to come together as a team. And I'm looking forward to seeing how many people we'll have there for us this year. What I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about was something we talked about on the team page a few weeks ago. I'd asked if you guys wanted to learn kind of about money and how I got out of debt and how I got to the place where I'm at now. So it was probably about 2 years ago, I was actually on a team call just like this that another coach was doing, and she did the same type of call. And I was like, oh, it's that easy? Oh, okay. And then I just did what she talked about and became out of debt. So I follow Dave Ramsey. If you don't have his book, he's the best. His book, Total Money Makeover. I keep meaning to talk to people about that, as like putting that on your top 5 books, because here's the thing, and why I wanted to have this call was it doesn't matter, how much money you're making with this business if you're not going to do anything with it. So I guess the first time I kind of thought about the bigger picture was when I started making about $1,000 a month. So when I hit Diamond, that was pretty much the same month I pretty much hit the same month I hit $1,000 a month. And I pretty much, stayed at that, if not more, from then on. And so the first thing I did was talk to my financial planner, which, if you don't have one, that's okay. I'd be happy to talk to you and help. I'm not like a certified financial planner or anything, but I know a lot about money and what to do with it. And so I talked to my financial planner and I was like, okay, I think I'll be making X amount of money by the end of next year, and it'll keep growing a little bit each year. What should I do with my money? And what he said was, save it. Pretend like your beach, if you're okay. So this was the point that I had gotten to pay, like on my feet, not underwater. Like I still had debt and all that stuff, but when I signed up to be a Beachbody coach, I was underwater. I had no idea where bills were coming and going and all this stuff. So when I was finally like on track and snowballing my debt, he said, save your money, save everything you make with Beachbody, and put it aside. He did tell me to spend like 10% of it. Well, I think he even said something like close to 50%. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. But, save it and pretend if you're living and you've made it this far without that money, keep going. Because, we're all in different places, and for some people, it's just extra money. For some people, it's helping them pay off debt. And for some people, it's them getting out from underwater. So I talked to him about my plan, and it all started with this book by Dave Ramsey, The Total Money Makeover. So Dave has 7 steps to becoming debt-free. The first step is, they're kind of like, actually, I got to open my notes. I'm sorry, guys. He has like 7 baby steps, they're called. And it's a long road. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Sorry, let me find my notes here that I took for this. Okay. Okay, cool. So he has 3 kind of like baby steps that aren't not. What are you laughing at me for? Oh, okay. So he has 3 kind of things to start out. So the first one is to create a budget. You're going to give every dollar a job and write things down. Okay. So it's so similar to how I had actually someone reach out to me the other day to help them with their budget. And it is so similar to health and fitness, right? Like, if we go off a meal plan, but if, we write down what we eat, check off our colors and things like that, and we track our health and we track our workouts, and we have a plan, right? If you do not have a plan with your money, you're going to be, 300 pounds. It's the same thing. Like, they go hand in hand. To write it down, to see it out, and to know where everything's going to go. It's like meal prep, but for money. So the first one is to create a budget and give every dollar a job. There are a couple different ways to create a budget, depending on what type of your personality you have. I am super OCD and very, emeraldy. I love my Excel documents. So I have an Excel document that has the past 3 years of data in it, and I compare them month over month, and it's deep. It's a deep Excel document. But I also highly recommend one of two apps. The first one is called Every Dollar. They have a free account, which works totally fine, and you go in and you can watch a couple of YouTube videos on it, and it's super user friendly. They also have a paid version where it links to your bank accounts, and you can just like move. So say you spent $100 on cable this month, you move it to the cable category. Super easy. There's also another one that's similar to that called YNAB. It's WYNAB. Why you need a budget. Whatever. Why, anyways, I can't do that alliteration. Why you need a budget is another app. Same thing as that one, Every Dollar. There's also something called Mint, but I suggest the first two. Create a budget. I'll post in our team page or send it to you guys. I also have like a PDF version that you can type in and it'll do it all out. You need to know the amount of money coming in, the amount of money going out, just like calories intake versus calories output. So that's the first mini one. The second mini thing he has, and this is like the toughest one, especially with social media, especially because we're on social media so much for our job, it's stop keeping up with the Joneses. That is so hard. You see your friends getting a new car and going on the sick vacation and buying. I have a friend that just bought almost a $500,000 house. And I like sit here and I'm like, oh, I live in a dump. Like, I need a new house, right? Or like, they got a new car. Maybe I need a new car. Just that keeping up with the Joneses mentality, especially with social media, is so hard because I don't know, it's just in our nature. Everyone wants to, be the best and have the best. And, especially cars, like you want to show that you have an expensive car. It's just part of society and how we are these days. You got to get over that and know that won't bring you to your goals. So, my boyfriend and I talk all the time. We're on the same page about our finances, and, we kind of have to remind each other sometimes, like in the next, like probably 12 months or less, will need a new car. I don't need a $40,000 car, even though that's what I want. So I have to be reminded. I even said the other day, I was like, because I live in a very affluent town. I live in the cheapest house in the town, but I live in a very, very affluent town. And I was like, but is Poppy going to be like weirded out that I'm not driving like an Audi to school? And he's like, she doesn't give a shit. And I even asked my mom out because we grew up very poor. And I said, Mom, did like you ever think about that? Like when you drove us to Little Harbor or whatever? And she's like, no. She's like, and if one of those stupid mothers judged me, like whatever. I was like, okay. So you just have to keep reminding yourself that that's not what it's about. And everyone has different goals. Number 3, this one was never super hard for me because I never really used credit cards unless it was an emergency, which, like before Beachbody, it was an emergency because I had no money. And I maxed out 2 of my credit cards. So stop using credit cards. It's real hard. It's fake money. There are statistics done that say you spend 40% more money if you use a credit card versus cash, because it's like cash is so physical and you can like feel it and see it, and it comes out of your, you've taken it out of your stash or whatever it is. Even a debit card, it has the same mental thing. That's why Apple has created like Apple Pay, because you don't even see that. That's not even a credit. You're just like, oh, woohoo, swipe my phone. There's money gone. You have no idea, right? It's a brain thing. So also there are about 1,000 reasons otherwise to stop using credit cards. You know, a lot of people do it for the mileage and the points. Credit cards are a multi-billion-dollar company. Rarely do us people win. They win 99.99999% of the time, right? It's hard to stop using credit cards. Now, we could talk about like debit cards versus cash. Honestly, to start out, I'd say start using cash. Dave Ramsey has like what he calls an envelope system. So once you create your budget, you know, say, I'm not saying like don't spend any money, have no fun, never go out to eat. You know, say you put $100 in your dining out category, right? Take that out in cash. I used to do that. I take $100 out, and whether it was a coffee, whether it's going, I swear you go out to eat a lot less when you only got $100. I would rather drink coffee out from the coffee shop every day than have like one or two big meals, a big, you know, going out with my friends. So you got to make that last. So, you know, and then when you're using a credit card, you're like, oh, I forgot to budget yesterday. So I didn't see it, you know, and it just adds up over time. So those are 3 things to kind of stop and start doing before you really progress. But those are also mental things that take a long time. Now, baby step number 1 is to create an emergency fund. What this is $1,000. That's it. And I'm not talking to specifically any of you guys because I don't, besides Samantha, I know her background, but I don't know your guys' like financial background. So this is his just general ideas. So he wants you to, number 1, create $1,000 emergency fund. For me, what that meant for Beachbody was putting every single paycheck in a separate account. I have 4 different bank accounts within my TD Bank. One of them is called emergency fund. One is called Beachbody because all my money, I actually have a separate account, which I highly suggest for you guys too. I have a separate account for Beachbody for all my money that goes into it and that I pay out. So like Shakeology, any prizes, any trips, anything. So it's just easier to deal with at the end of the year when I do my taxes. But I move money out of that into my other accounts to fill my emergency fund and all that. And I have a car fund going now too. So if you have your emergency fund, perfect. You've done step 1, you've moved on to step 2. Excuse me, if you don't have the $1,000 in your account, no problem. We're starting with step 1. You are going to hustle and do whatever it takes to get that done as soon as possible. It shouldn't take more than 3 months. If it is, sorry, Poppy's like rustling. If it does take you more than 3 months, you need to redo your budget, okay? It means that things aren't as tight as they should be. And if you don't have $1,000 in your emergency fund, it does mean no eating out. I'm super, super, super passionate about this and strict. And, you know, if it takes you two or 3 months to build up $1,000 so that you don't have to worry the next time the power goes out and you haven't, or like your electricity bill's too high and you can't pay it, or your car breaks down, or the baby needs something, or your dog needs, you know, emergency surgery. It's an emergency. That $1,000 does not go towards bills. It does not go towards debt. It stays in that account. It doesn't build interest. It just sits there and it sucks. I have a very big emergency fund right now that gains no interest. It gains $8 a month. And it sucks. I like think to myself, I'm like, oh, if I was investing it, I could make so much more money, but it's not what it's about. It's for, what if you lose your job? I'm single, so like it's a little different for me. Being a single mom, like if I lose my job, what would I do? Like obviously I have Beachbody, I know that, but like, you know, if something happened and I couldn't work, what would I do for my other money? You know what I mean? Or if we have layoffs all the time at my office, you know, what would I do? I need something that's gonna help me and make sure. So the $1,000 is step 1. Hustle as fast as you can to get there. It means keeping an eye on your budget and really, really tightening it up. Whether it means, you know, spending a little bit less at the grocery and making, you know, like I'm just trying to think of something like, you know, when you buy something, you're like, I totally could have made that, like shredded carrots, right? They're like 4 times more expensive than a regular carrot. And you're like, I totally could have shredded my own carrots and it takes me like 2 seconds, but I bought the bag. Little things like that add up. Samantha, no joke, literally only bought the cheaper kind of eggs, the brown ones, until she hit a certain point in her finances because she wanted to save the extra money. It might be nitpicking, but hey, we got big goals, right? So that's number one. Once you've done that, don't look forward to. Just keep going and know that if you do these things, they will all come in time. So, don't be like, oh my gosh, there are 7 steps. How am I going to get through all these? It's so hard. It's like, and you still buy the cheap eggs. That's funny. So it's like weight loss. Like, think of a person who has to lose 150 pounds, right? That is so daunting. And we try to help them. And, we're like one small thing at a time. Like, often when I have people that have a ton of weight to lose, I just have them start on Shakeology, nothing else, because it's so much for them to take in, and you can't think that far. So same with this, it's so much to take in, one step at a time. So once you've completed the emergency fund, that's step 1, you go to number 2, and that is to list all of your debts except your mortgage. We're not talking about mortgages right now. So list all of your debts on a piece of paper. Now, this is a little controversial. This is how I do it. He suggests listing your debts from smallest to largest. Oftentimes people do it from highest interest rate to smallest interest rate. Now, money is 80% head knowledge, 20% numbers on a calculator. Like, everything that you do with money, when you start thinking about it, and I highly suggest you reading the book, is so mindless. Like, do you ever drive to work and you're like, how did I get here? I don't think I saw any lights, and definitely don't know what color like the car was next to me or anything. And you're like, how did I get here? That's how debt is, right? Like, all of a sudden you're like, damn, I'm in $20,000 worth of debt. What the F happened? That's exactly, so it's money is mental. So, which is why he says pay off the smallest first. It's called snowballing. So say you have, I'm just going to use numbers here. Say you have 4 debts, whether they're credit cards, car loans, HELOCs, debts to family, hospital bills. These are all things I didn't have a HELOC, but everything else, hospital bills, outstanding things to your, like the cable or whatever you have, outstanding things like that. So you put your smallest one first. So say you owe $3,000 on this, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. You make your minimum monthly payments on these 3, and any extra dollars that you have every month go to this first one. So you pay it off as soon as possible. Keep making the minimum payments on all these 3 because you don't want anything to be delinquent, and late fees are just the worst. So whether you have an extra $20, an extra $100, an extra $500, you snowball this one down as fast as possible. So by the time you're paying $500 a month to this, it'll be off in 6 months, less actually. So then you take that 600 plus whatever the minimum payment of this bill was, and you keep rolling it down until they're all gone. Depending on what your debt is, you should be able to pay it off within 12 to 24 months. It's hard to say because everyone makes a different amount of money. Everyone he says everyone has a different size shovel, right? That they're pulling themselves out of this debt. So I don't know what everyone's shovel looks like, how much you and your family earn versus how much your debt is. Okay, I'm going to go back on all these in a little bit, but I just want to go over them. Step number 3 is to build up a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. So once you have your budget not only includes all the things you spend, it includes what you make. And I know with Beachbody, obviously we make a little bit different every month, and it should be growing, but it's a little inconsistent, but that's okay. Some months you might make $100 more, $100 less. You have an average of what you'll be making, and you can kind of figure that out. But with your day job, you might know better or have an average. So build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Now, so say you spend $2,000 a month on your expenses. I know I spend over $4,000 between daycare, my mortgage, and all my bills. So say you spend $2,000 a month on your bills. A 3 to 6 month emergency fund would be what can cover you for those $2,000 a month for 3 to 6 months, saying you guys lose your job, or you can't work, you go on disability, or you have a baby. You know, if you and your husband make, um, actually, it has nothing to do with income. I'm sorry. It has to do with your expenses. So what you guys as a family spend. So if you have $2,000 worth of expenses, you need 3 to 6 months. You need, um, big math, $6,000 to $12,000 in an account. For me, I actually have like 8 months saved or 9 months saved because I'm a single mom and I feel very volatile sometimes. My job is very insecure. They have layoffs every year, and I'm just a worrier, so I like to be on the safe side. Other people, like in the finance world, would think I'm crazy for keeping that much cash on hand because it's not invested and I could be making more money in it, but I'm conservative and I am cautious with my family, and I know what it's like to be in debt, and that worry, it's not worth it to me. So I stick with the 6 months plus, but if you're married, you're probably fine with 3 months, because the chances of 2 people losing their job at the same time is, much slimmer. Um, but that's after you've paid off all your debt, okay? Once you pay off all your debt, then you move to building a 3 to 6 months emergency fund. These steps, these 7 steps can take years. It sucks. It's not a 6-month thing. You're like, "Oh, I'm at my dream weight and now I can go back to eating chocolate and candy and donuts." It's not like that. It's a consistency over time equals success with getting out of debt and building wealth. So the next thing, I'm just going to touch on these quickly. Step number 4 is putting 15% of your income into retirement. Okay. So, I can't do math, but, 15, whatever your household income is, 15% of that into retirement. If you want help on what retirement is best for you, I'd be happy to talk to you about that. If you're at that point or when you get to it, whether it's a Roth 401k or a 401k Roth IRA or 401k through your job. Step number 5 is paying or building your kids' college fund. Controversial topic also, but super important for me. It's actually, besides my lake house, is my number one focus for my money. I'm actually on baby step 6, which is so 4 was the 15% of your income. Baby step 5 is funding your kids' college, and baby step 6 is paying off your mortgage. So you kind of do steps 4, 5, and 6 together because you're always going to be contributing the 15% to your retirement. You're probably always going to be funding your kids' college because that takes forever. And you'll be paying off your mortgage for a while. So I'm technically on baby steps 5 and 6, paying for Poppy's college and paying off my mortgage. I have a goal, honestly, a realistic goal that's like 100% doable is my mortgage will be paid off in 5 years. My push goal is by the end of next year. And then the cool thing for number 7, because what are you going to do when you have no debt, your kids' college is funded, you've paid off your mortgage, you have all this money now, especially where we're still growing with money and income, is to give like crazy. So whatever that means to you, whether it's donating to your favorite charity or being able to go to a restaurant and just drop $100 bill every once in a while, helping out family members in need. That's also a big goal of mine, is to help my parents. So those are the 7 steps. I'm going to go over the first 3 a little bit more in depth because that's where most people are. Does anyone have any questions of what I've mentioned so far? And if you have any personal questions, you can always talk to me offline, or I can stop recording at the end and you can ask anything too. Or if you don't care, I don't think anyone really watches these videos. So, but does anyone have any questions so far? Not yet? Okay. So why I think this is so important for Beachbody coaches is because I've seen it so many times with coaches where they start earning a lot of money and it just vanishes. Oftentimes when people increase their income, they increase their style of life. So that's okay to do for sure. I will upgrade my car when the time comes, and my house when the time comes, but I just want to be smart about it. So one thing that's super important is to get on board with your spouse. Now, obviously I'm single, or not, I shouldn't say single, but there's like no better word. Like, I'm not married, but I don't think Phil keeps appreciating it every time I keep saying I'm single to him. Mm. But I'm not married. So our money's separate. I'm not an expert in this situation, but here are my thoughts on it. What I would suggest is that you sit down with your spouse or partner and take a couple hours and like dream, and just like sit on the porch, have a glass of wine, and be like, what do you want to be doing in 5 years or 10 years or at retirement? Like, do you want to keep living our life like this? Do you want to still be in New Hampshire? Do you want to be traveling? Do you want to be um, living in a lake house with no mortgages? So I'll just give myself for an example. So Phil and I did this because eventually we'll probably be sharing money or something. I don't know. But so we sat down and we're like, okay, where do we want to be at retirement? And we worked backwards. Well, we want to be retiring as soon as possible. That's our main goal, is to retire early. And after these 7 steps, there's like another program that I can talk to you about. It's called FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early, which is my new focus. And so my goal is to retire by the time I'm 40. And in order to do that, I need to be on the same page as my partner and have not many bills, because I need to be able to live off my investments, right? So we want to own a lot of properties and be able to live off those investments. And we talked about where we want to live in the house, and we want a big table for the whole family to come up, blah, blah, all that stuff. So we had kind of a dream session, which is the first thing I suggest you to do. Or even, you're single, think about it by yourself. Where do I want to be in 5 or 10 or 30 years? And they're super hard to have those thoughts. Like, just so many people our age don't think about retirement at all. I look at my parents, and they're in their mid 60s, never have thought of retirement, still to this day. My mom's retiring in 6 months, has no plan. Like, she's already made a plan to retire because physically she needs to with her body, but like, they have no financial plan for it, and it's just so hard to see. So I think that's what made me so passionate about this and about retirement. I literally like forced people at my office to sign up for their 401k because it's so important, and it's not talked about, and it should be, because I don't know, who wants to live a life of working till they're 75, right? That sucks. Oh shit, 10 minutes. I talk a lot. Okay. So have a dream date with your partner or yourself and figure out where you want to be. Honestly, figure out where you want to be in 5 years, right? It's 2018. So in 2023, do you want to be in the same house? Do you want to have the same job? Do you want to have any more kids? Do you want to travel the world? Where do you want to be? You can't do some of those things with so much debt hanging over your shoulders. There will be people that don't have the same mindset as I do and will go through their whole life with debt. And that's totally fine. Not how I run my world, and I will never understand that. And I often tell my boyfriend that I'm jealous of those people, because I'm so frugal that like, I can't understand how people live like that anymore. Like, I mean, I understand, but I get jealous almost, like it's carefree and I don't feel carefree. So if you are that way and that's your personality, that is totally fine. I don't mean to sound judgmental at all if I'm coming across that way. I just know that being debt-free opens so many doors and so many possibilities, to sending your kids to awesome schools, to doing family vacations, to traveling, I actually thought about going back to school myself. I'm like, maybe that's something I want to do. And it's hard to do with so much debt hanging over your shoulders. And just mentally, most couples fight over money. It's like the number one reason why couples fight and or break up. And if you guys can get on the same page as money, that is where it is all about. It's hard for sure. And honestly, I can't even see myself sharing a bank account, so I don't know how that will be. So, but just try to get on the same page. See if you guys can figure out a way to make it work. And I just think that the payoff is great. When I got myself out of debt, literally it was like 1,000 pounds lifted off my shoulders. I'm like, I can breathe again. I don't feel trapped. I feel like debt is just like a trap. And with Beachbody, the harder you work, the faster this happens, that you can do all of this. So I've been a coach for almost 4 years. I've paid off all of my debt, my student loans. It's a stigma that people will have their college loans forever. Let me show you this. It doesn't have to happen. I paid off mine. Samantha will have paid off hers by May. They don't have to last forever. I've paid off all my college loans. I paid off my hospital bills from having Poppy. We had like a $5,000 deductible. I've paid off my lawyer. I had to have a lawyer. He paid him thousands of dollars. I paid off family loans. I paid off all the stuff that I had. And just knowing that I didn't have to report to someone else about my money really made a big difference. Knowing that I have money in my bank account and that I'm planning ahead for the future gives me so much mental clarity that it really, really helps me sleep at night. So wherever you are, first of all, read the book, because he definitely obviously does a better job explaining. It's on Audible too. But you can talk to me about it. I'm more than happy. I'm not a financial analyst or anything. I don't tell you what stocks to invest in by any means, but I can for sure help you with your budget, show you where to cut. It's hard. Sometimes people think that they've cut everything out of their budget that they don't need until they get a second opinion. You're looking at someone's meal plan and you're like, actually you ate 12 yellows today. And they're like, no, I didn't. That's a blue, that's a green. And you're like, no, it's not. So it's the same thing with your budget. How many subscription things, this is a big one. How many subscription things do you really belong to, right? Shakeology, obviously, Audible, I can't think of things, HelloFresh or BarkBox or all those things that you're like, oh no, it's just Netflix. It's just $8 a month. That was 8 or 12 or $30 adds up, right? And some of you can just, cable, cancel things like that. I canceled cable and have Hulu and Netflix now. I steal other people's Hulu and other people's Netflix. I don't pay for that shit. I get a bad rep for being super frugal. People make fun of me all the time, and I'm okay with that. Because I'd rather be made fun of for being frugal and have money in my bank account than be keeping up with the Joneses. And that's what it's all about. Other people's opinions don't buy me toilet paper, which has been my motto, which is what Nikki's taught me since day one of coaching. They don't. That's why I don't give a shit what I post about on Facebook. I don't care about those things. I really just need to do what's best for me and Poppy. And that's all. That's where, the line's drawn. So I hope that was helpful. I highly suggest reading the book and figuring out how you can relate it to Beachbody and know that okay, every challenge pack I have helps me reach this goal. And this is kind of why we talk about our whys, because we need a goal at the end, right? For me, paying off debt for so long was a big goal. And then building my emergency fund. I remember when I told my corporate, at a certain rank, you get a corporate mentor. And I told them my big goal for the year was to have $35,000 in my bank account. I was like, that's my emergency fund. I'll be honest with you guys, it's on my dream board that I'm sure you've seen. So I was like, that was my goal last year, I think. And he was blown away. He's like, nobody does that. Lindsay Matway buys her houses in cash and then rents them out. She's a genius businesswoman. There are other top coaches that earn a lot of money that don't do that. And you don't know what's out there. One day Beachbody could be gone. And I'm not saying that to scare anyone or because I think it is, but that's how any job could be, right? You want to put yourself in the best position for your future, whatever that means for you. Whether it means moving into a nicer house or an upgraded house that's bigger or better for your family. That's huge. We can't wait to move into a bigger house, but we can wait because I'm going to wait until the time's right and I'm not putting myself in more debt for it. So, people wear debt and credit scores like a badge of honor. And that's just how society is, I'd be happy to talk to you about your credit scores too, because I focus a lot on that. But credit scores just means you're good with credit. Doesn't mean, you're good with debt. Doesn't mean you have I have a good credit score because I know how to manage it, but like credit scores are something you need if you're going to buy a house or something, but it's also a a monitor of how much debt you have. So does anyone have any questions? I know we only have 2 minutes left and I gave a lot at you, but did that make sense? Does it seem like something that you guys could do and fits with your goals and everything? Cool. I know I've talked to most of you guys offline about this, but it's so important to me. It's my biggest passion is money. I said to my boyfriend when we were out on Saturday night, I was like, someone said the quote to me yesterday, get rich or die trying. And I was like, that's it. That's my literal goal. I'm just here to get all the money, make all the money I can. And that's my main goal. Obviously I have other little goals, but for me, money means freedom. And so when I posted the thing about what does success mean to you, I had to ask myself that too. And honestly, success to me means freedom, means being able to do what I want, when I want, with the money that I have. So it's kind of how I see it. And we have an opportunity that gives us endless money. Like there's no caps here, no caps on our income. I haven't had a raise at my day job in 3 years. It's bullshit, you know? So just think about the opportunity that we have and know that the harder you work, the faster your goals and the faster you can blow through these. And for me to say that I'm on baby steps 5 and 6, when 4 years ago I had people screaming to take me to the court because I couldn't pay my bills, is partly because I've done well with Beachbody, but also because I've done well with the money that I've earned with Beachbody. I see plenty of people that are making more than me and don't have anything to show for it. I have a girlfriend who I just talked to the other night. A lot of coaches come to me for this stuff, and she's made over $100,000 with Beachbody so far in the past 3 years, and she saved every penny. She hasn't touched it, and I'm like, hot damn, what are we gonna do? That's a huge opportunity. So just imagine, like, if you just worked really hard and had that all. So, all right, I'm gonna get cut off, and I'm so sorry I was late, guys. If you want to hop onto Nikki's accountability call, that started a minute ago, so I'm so sorry. But have a good night, and I will talk to you guys soon. All right, bye.